So how can one single metro line in just one city possibly tell a story about an entire nation? I mean, we're talking about 1.4 billion people here. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into. We'll see how a local project in Bengaluru was framed as part of this huge, grand narrative about India's future.
Yeah, this is the big question, right? It's going to be our guide for this whole explainer. We're going to start right there, on the ground, in the middle of all that traffic, in a buzzing tech hub. And then we'll zoom out, piece by piece, to see how this one project became this huge symbol for what's being called a new India.
Okay, so here's the plan. First up, Bengaluru's new metro. Then we'll pull back to see the national infrastructure story. After that, we'll dive into the economic and digital claims that are supposed to be fueling all this. And we'll wrap up with the vision for self-reliance. Let's get into it. All right, let's dive in. Our story really kicks off right here, in Bangalore. It's known as India's tech powerhouse, so it was presented as the perfect symbol for this new India idea. A place where the old and the new, tradition and tech, are meant to come together and just work. So what was the project? A new metro line. Simple enough. The goal was to slash those crazy commute times for the city's tech workforce. But here's the really interesting part, the funding model. This wasn't just a government thing. No, it was a public-private partnership. You had giants like Infosys and Biocon actually putting money into it. And that little detail, it's a huge piece of the puzzle for the bigger economic story we're going to get to. And the scale of this thing, it's just massive. They're aiming to move 2.5 million people, not a month, not a week, every single day. Just think about that. That's like taking the entire city of Houston and moving it across town every day on just these new metro lines. It's huge.
Okay, so how do you take one metro line and make it a national headline? Well, you frame it as Exhibit A, right? You say, look, this isn't just one project. This is a tiny piece of a massive nationwide infrastructure blitz. And just like that, the story jumps from local news to the national stage.
And the way this story was told was through this really stark before and after picture. The narrative went something like this. Before 2014, you only had a metro in 5 cities? But today, we're talking over 1,000 kilometers of track in 24 different cities. That's enough to make it the 3rd largest network on the planet. A huge jump.
And this then versus now thing wasn't just for metros. Oh no, it was used for everything. You had rail electrification. Boom, doubled. Airports more than doubled, from 74 to over 160. And it kept going into education. A big jump in medical colleges, more IITs, more IIMs. It was a pattern applied across the board.
Okay, but let's be real. Building all this stuff costs a ton of money. So where's it all coming from? That's the next part of the story. It pivots to the engine that's supposedly fueling all this growth. A story of massive economic and digital change.
And right at the core of this economic narrative is this catchy 3-word phrase: reform, perform, transform. It's presented as the secret sauce, the thing that propelled the country from being the 10th largest economy all the way into the top 5. And the goal now? To hit the top 3.
So you need proof, right? One of the big numbers they point to is exports. The claim is a jump from $468 billion to, wait for it, $824 billion. That's presented as the hard data, the evidence for the perform part of that slogan.
Then the story gets even more specific. It zooms in on certain sectors as proof that the Make in India push is working. Take mobile phones, for example. The story goes from being a net importer to a top exporter. Electronics exports, a massive 6-fold jump. And cars, exports doubled, making India the 4th largest exporter.
But then you get to the digital side of things. And this next stat, it's just wild. The claim is that over 50% of all the real-time digital payments in the entire world now happen in India. Let that sink in. It's held up as the ultimate proof of this huge digital revolution, all thanks to the homegrown UPI system.
So, okay, all that data, all those numbers, they're meant to paint a picture of what's happening right now.
But the final piece of the story wasn't about the present. It was all about the future. It's a pivot from just talking about growth to laying out this really powerful vision for national self-reliance, especially when it comes to technology.
And this one quote really sums up the whole manufacturing idea. Our products should be of top quality based on the standard of zero defect, zero effect. It's a call for a whole new standard. But what does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it breaks down into two pretty simple ideas. Zero defect means your products have to be perfect, top-notch quality, no mistakes. And zero effect means the way you make them shouldn't harm the environment. The key takeaway here is that they're tying quality and sustainability together, saying you really can't have one without the other.
And the game plan for getting to this self-reliant future? It seems to focus on three key areas. First, developing their own software for their own needs. Second, launching a big India AI mission to become a global player in artificial intelligence. And third, and this one is a biggie, getting a made-in-India semiconductor industry up and running fast.
You know, what's interesting is that this wasn't just presented as a plan from the top down. The narrative actually ended with a specific call out to the state governments. They were basically asked to do three things: simplify their laws, get rid of outdated rules, improve training for their own employees, and put a special focus on developing the parts of their states that have been left behind.
So there you have it. We went from one metro line all the way to this massive vision for an entire nation. It's a story that connects concrete and steel on the ground with microchips and a future of self-reliance. The roadmap has been shared. So that leaves us with the big question, right? What are the real-world challenges? And what are the greatest opportunities in actually turning this vision into reality?